breaking.com.
And
Lesson number
breaking last
2.
part.
What kind
Number
of
2.
music do you like?
What kind
Past
of music
tense.
do you like? Past tense.
Questions and
Question
answers.
and answer.
Ava was having a conversation with Jacob. Was Ava having a conversation with Peter?
No, she wasn't. Ava was having a
No,
conversation with
she
Jacob.
wasn't having a conversation with Peter. Ava was having a conversation with Jacob. Who was Ava having a conversation with?
Jacob. Ava was having a
Jacob.
conversation with
Ava
Jacob.
was having a conversation with Jacob. What was Ava doing with Jacob?
A conversation. Ava was having a conversation with Jacob.
She was having a conversation. Ava was having a conversation with Jacob. She wanted to know what kind of music he
She
liked.
wants to know what kind of music he liked.
What did Ava want to know from Jacob?
What kind of music he liked.
What kind of music Jacob liked? Ava wanted to know what kind of music he liked. She wanted to know what kind of music he liked. Who wanted to know what kind of music Jacob liked?
Ava wanted to know what kind of music he
Ava.
liked.
Ava wanted to know what kind of music Jacob liked. Did she want to know what kind of music Jacob disliked?
No, she didn't. She
No,
wanted
she
to
didn't want to know what kind of
what
music
kind
he
of music
disliked,
he
he
liked.
hated. She wanted to know what kind of music he liked. So, she asked him about his favorite kind of music.
His favorite kind of music.
Did she ask him about his favorite kind of music?
Yes, she asked him about his favorite.
Yes, she
kind
asked
of
him about
music.
his favorite kind of music. Did Ava ignore Jacob's favorite kind of music?
No, she didn't. Ava asked him
No,
about his
she didn't
favorite
ignore his favorite kind of music. Ava asked him about his favorite kind of music. What did Ava ask Jacob about?
About his favorite kind of
His
music.
favorite kind of music. Ava asked Jacob about his favorite kind of music. Jacob said he liked all kinds of music, but he mostly liked pop, rock, and classical.
Pop, rock, and classical.
What kind of music did Jacob say he liked?
He said he liked all kinds of music.
All kinds of music.
And
Jacob said he
she-
liked all
he,
kinds of music, but he mostly
mostly
liked pop, rock, and classical. Did Jacob mostly like opera, country, and
No, she
Western
didn't.
music?
She liked all kind of music, and she mostly
No,
liked.
Jacob said he liked all kinds of
rock and
music,
classical.
but he mostly liked pop, rock, and classical. Did Jacob tell Ava what kind of music he hated?
No, Jacob didn't.
No, Jacob didn't tell
said,
Ava what kind of music he hated.
he liked
Jacob said he liked all kinds of music, but he mostly liked pop, rock, and classical. Ava had tickets to a show. What kind of tickets did Ava have?
The tickets to
The
a
tickets
show.
to a show. Ava had tickets to a show and invited Jacob to go with her to the show. Did Ava invite Jeremy to the movies?
No, Ava didn't. Ava invited Jacob.
No,
to
she
go
didn't invite
the
Jeremy to the
show with
movies.
her.
Ava invited Jacob to the show. Ava had tickets to a show and invited Jacob to go with her to the show. Did Ava have tickets?
Yes, Ava had tickets.
Yes, Ava had tickets. Ava had tickets to a show and invited Jacob to go with her to the show. Jacob asked what kind of music the show would have. What did Jacob ask?
Jacob asked what kind of music the show.
Jacob asked what kind of music the show would have. He asked what kind of music the show would have. Did Jacob ask what kind of music the show would have?
Yes, Jacob asked what kind of
Yes,
music the show
Jacob
would
asked
have.
what kind of music the show would have. How did Jacob find out the kind of music the show would have?
Jacob asked what kind of music the
He
show
asked
would
Ava.
have.
Jacob asked what kind of music the show would have. Ava told him it was rock and it was in Lincoln Park. Did Ava tell Jacob the kind of music and the show's location?
Yes, Ava told Jacob.
Yes,
Jacob,
Ava told
the
Jacob the kind of music and the show's
and
location.
the
Ava
show
told him it was
location.
rock and it was in Lincoln Park. Did Ava keep a secret from Jacob about the type of music?
No, Ava tell him it was rock and
No, Ava told him it was rock and it was in Lincoln Park. Did Ava tell Jacob the show was in Jackson Park?
No, Ava didn't.
No, Ava told him it was rock and it was in
rock
Lincoln
and
Park.
It was in Lincoln Park.
Jacob asked what time the show would start. What did Jacob ask about the show?
Jacob asked what time the show.
Jacob asked
would
what time the
start.
show would start. He asked what time the show would start. Did Jacob ask who was performing at the show?
No, he didn't. Jacob asked what time.
No, he didn't ask who was performing at the show. Jacob asked what time the show would start. Who asked what time the show would start?
Jacob asked what time the show would start.
Jacob asked what time the show would start. He asked what time the show would start. Ava told him the show would start at 7 p.m. When did Ava tell Jacob the show would start?
The show would start at 7 p.m.
Ava told him the show would start at 7 p.m. She told him it was 7 p.m. Who told him the show was at 7 p.m.?
Ava told him the show would start at 7 p.m.
Ava told him it was at 7 p.m. She told him it was at 7 p.m. Was the show at 7 p.m.?
Yes, the show was at 7 p.m.
Yes, the show was at 7 p.m. Ava told Jacob it was at 7 p.m. Jacob said he would like to go to the show and suggested having dinner first. How did Jacob answer to Ava?
Jacob asked he liked to go to the show. And
Jacob said he'd like to go to the show and suggested having dinner first. He answered he'd like to go and suggested having dinner first. Did Jacob say he didn't want to go to the show?
No, Jacob didn't. He said he would like to go
No.
to the show.
Jacob said he'd like to go to the show and suggested having dinner first. What else did Jacob suggest to Ava?
Having dinner. Having dinner first.
Having dinner. Jacob said he'd like to go to the show and suggested having dinner first. Who said he would like to go?
Jacob said he would like to go and
Jacob.
and she would like
Jacob
to
said
go.
he would like to go. He said he would like to go. He suggested having dinner first.
First.
What did Jacob suggest?
He suggested having dinner first.
He suggested eating dinner first. He suggested having dinner before the show. Did he suggest having dinner after the show?
No, Jacob suggested eating.
No, he didn't suggest eating dinner
first.
after the show. He suggested eating dinner before the show. Did Simon suggest eating dinner first?
No, Jacob suggested having dinner first.
No. Jacob suggested eating dinner first. Jacob suggested eating dinner first with Ava. Ava thought eating dinner first was a good idea. What did Ava think?
Ava told eating dinner first was
Eating dinner first was a good idea. Ava thought this was a good idea. Did Ava think having dinner first was a bad idea?
No, Ava didn't. Ava think
No, Ava didn't think having dinner first was a bad idea. Ava thought that was a good idea. What did Ava tell Jacob about having dinner first?
Ava thought that was a good idea.
Ava thought that was a good idea. Ava told Jacob having dinner first was a good idea. Jacob suggested eating at a restaurant across the street from his apartment. What did Jacob suggest to Ava?
Jacob suggested eating at a restaurant across the street.
Jacob
from
suggested
his
eating at the
apartment.
restaurant across the street from his apartment. He suggested having dinner at the restaurant across the street from his apartment. Did Jacob suggest having dinner at the Hilton Hotel?
No, Jacob suggested having dinner at the restaurant
No,
across the
Jacob
street
suggested having dinner at the
from
restaurant across the
his
street from his
apartment.
apartment. Where did Jacob suggest having
At
dinner?
the street, at the restaurant across the street from his
At the restaurant
apartment.
across the street from his apartment. Jacob suggested having dinner at the restaurant across the street from his apartment. Ava liked the idea and thought she knew where the restaurant was. Did Ava want to have dinner with Jacob?
Yes, she wanted to have dinner with Jacob.
Yes, she wanted to have dinner with Jacob. Ava liked the idea and thought she knew where the restaurant was. Did Ava know where the restaurant was?
Yes. Ava knew where the
Yes,
restaurant.
Ava knew where the restaurant was. She thought she knew where the restaurant was. Who knew where the restaurant was?
Ava, she knew the restaurant's location.
Ava. Ava knew where the restaurant was. She knew the restaurant's location. Jacob told her she was right about the restaurant's location. Did Jacob tell Lisa she was right about the restaurant's location?
No, Jacob didn't tell Lisa. Jacob told
No,
Ava
Jacob
she
didn't tell
was
Lisa.
right
Jacob
about
told
the
Ava she was
restaurant
right about the
location.
restaurant's location. Who did Jacob tell she was right about the